All right, everyone. Barron Trump is only 18 years old. He's also 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. So he's a pretty massive dude, pretty imposing. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't end up in business and politics just like everyone else in the Trump family. He's been chosen as a GOP delegate, actually, in Milwaukee for the GOP convention later this year. Along with others, Eric and Don and Ivanka, I believe, are all at-will delegates as well. So he's joined the fray now that he's 18. So the Trumps will be there for their star-studded delegation. I would point out, it's rather funny. Right now, the Democrats are worried about tens of thousands of rioters showing up, like Gaza protesters and stuff, for their convention. Reminiscent of 1968, it could be more than tens of thousands, actually, because there are a lot of people pissed at the Democratic Party right now. Between Biden's failures on foreign diplomacy, re Israel and Gaza, and the student loan grift falling apart now 3 times and being fronted again, it'll fall apart again, Biden has not won many favors among youth voters. The youth is most likely to protest and riot. Point out recent polling shows Donald Trump with an advantage among voters under 25. That's significant because he lost that by a very wide margin to Joe Biden in 2020. The Democrats have a problem. GOP convention, meanwhile, you're going to get some pink hat wearers and stuff like that. I'd be surprised if 10,000 people showed up to protest. There's always protests at political conventions, but it'll be relatively calm, I think, compared to the Dem convention. It'll be really funny to see the differential. Well, supposedly Trump is causing division and sowing discord among Americans. Yeah, convention goes off without a hitch, and it's pretty normal, other than Donald Trump might say something zany up on stage. DNC, they have their convention, and everything falls apart. You know, delegates have to mill through crowds of rioters, and they're going to sweep aside the homeless to make it look a little bit more palatable there where they have theirs. Barron Trump is an interesting story by Ingersoll Lockwood, actually, called The Marvelous Adventures of Little Barron Trump. And he appears to have been obsessed with time travel. This is over 100 years ago that he wrote his works, by the way. I edited a work, it's available on my books blog, called 1900, The Last President. I created an edition of Lockwood's work, actually. It's sold thousands of copies by now. Actually, it might be tens of thousands. And in that, it talks about the fall of the United States due to socialistic rioting and various other things. It's funny because the Secretary of State, his last name is Pence in there. And so it seemed a little bit on the nose. At first, I thought it was a modern forgery that was made to look old, but it actually checks out. There actually was an Ingersoll Lockwood back then that wrote these works. So you have that one political work with multiple mimetic overtones. Then you have a separate, I think there were 2 actual Barron Trump works. And it's about a little boy named Barron Trump, quite literally, only without the extra R, and his various magical adventures. And it's all just a little bit mimetic. It seems a little bit much to be a coincidence. I would be, again, surprised if he didn't end up in politics. Probably go into business first. And he's only 18, so give him time. He's probably going to go to a school and get a higher education, a master's degree or something. He seems intelligent. He might even speak at the convention. That would be something. I think up until now that he's an adult, I think Melania mainly has sheltered him from politics. I think that she shelters herself from it too. I wish we could have seen more of Melania Trump in Trump's first of likely 2 terms. Now she's doing some campaigning. I really hope we see more of her because she is a lovely lady. Intelligent and has a good presence and everything like that. Well-spoken in 4 different languages. People seem to think that she's a bimbo. No, she's really not. She's actually very calculating. I guarantee you. I think that she mainly didn't want Barron Trump to be in politics before he was an adult. Probably would be reluctant to really want him be on the edge of politics even now until he's got more life experience. Not necessarily the worst choice. But I do have a feeling that down the line we will find him running for elected office. Should he choose to do so, he might say, no, I'm not into that shit. I just want to make money and be a businessman like Dad was or something like that. I think that could be. Heir to the family fortune in part and everything else. He might decide to go a different route. Hell, he might decide to go some other route. Maybe he gets into science or something. He becomes an eminent professor. We're not exactly sure, and that's his life to determine. but I'd be surprised if, when surrounded by so much business and politics, he hasn't been effectively trained up in that from day one. It's like they're bitching right now. Well, Donald Trump on Barron's graduation day is going to be attending a fundraiser, which doesn't conflict with his court schedule, by the way, hence why he is attending that, not apparently the graduation. I don't think that Barron Trump cares. I don't think that it stings at all. He's been raised up in that sort of world his entire life, the world of magnates and corporations and things like that, and business, and dealing and wheeling and politics to an extent. Donald Trump, before he got into elected office, was part of the donor class. It's not like he didn't hang out with political figures. He hung out with the Clintons and shit like that, and the Bushes and all sorts of other people. He was in on all of these things. He pretty much cast the net as wide as he could, and apparently used to make calls about himself to the legacy media, pretending to be someone else and giving tips on his own actions to get it out in the news cycle. And he's an interesting person. Barron, we're not sure a terrible amount about his personality because he hasn't really been, he's not a public figure and hasn't been in the public eye so much. Again, I think that was Melania's rather wise decision not to pose him like, oh, here's our son, look how tall he is. Here, Barron, talk to this NBC reporter. So, they know. Melania knew this. I think Trump knows it too, Donald Trump. I think they know that if Barron goes out there as an awkward teenage kid in the public eye, that there's going to be trouble, inevitably. We've seen this with other politicians' kids, like with Molly Obama smoking weed at Lollapalooza. Well, okay, you've got this college kid smoking a joint. Who cares? But it still became a big thing, and still ended up in the news cycle and the tabloids and all that other stuff. And the Trumps, I think, for Barron's purposes, because Eric and Don and Ivanka, they're all adults now, but Barron Trump wasn't. He was just a teenage kid. What are teens? They're awkward. They're shy, oftentimes, or they're too outgoing. They become a Chad or something. And we're not sure exactly what his personality will be, but I would be surprised if you did lean into the power structures that everyone else in the family is leaning into habitually, which is business, the money side, politics, the power side, etc. I would be very surprised. The fact that he's decided to go as a delegate to the Milwaukee convention is pretty telling now, isn't it? And probably, all he has to do there is basically cast a vote. But it's still politics. He's still going to be at the Republican convention. Considering his height, he's going to stand out like a sore thumb, and I bet that a lot of the news cameras will be regularly trained on him as well. So I'm sure that his parents have warned him, look, don't pick your nose while you're sitting there waiting for the next speech, because there could be several cameras looking at you, and there will certainly be people with smartphones that are trying to record it as well. That's about all. Peace out.